Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and today I'm asking the question, is television dead or dying? So, I'm going to answer this on multiple levels because I'm going to define television and the different levels, and I'm going to say yes or no or what I think. So, one, we're talking about broadcast TV. These are the 5 core networks: ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and PBS. We're also talking about cable television, in a way, but we're also talking about streaming, television shows on streaming networks. Streaming services, I should say. So is TV dead or dying? So let's go down the list. Local TV. Let's talk about local TV. So I worked as a journalist for 7 years, and in that time I worked at multiple TV stations. And I worked in different roles. I was a video editor, I was an assistant producer, I was a news producer, I produced a talk show, I produced a news magazine show, I was a camera operator, I was master control operator, I did it all. I was journalist, I was news reporter, I did it all. So let's talk about local TV. Local TV has been, I won't say on the decline, but I will say struggling for the past 25 or so years. Your local news in most markets is still doing well. For the most part. Yes, they have consolidated the shit out of it. When you watch movies, you always see on every movie you always see newscasters go out. You have a van, you have the reporter, you have the technician in the van, and you have the camera operator pointing the camera at the reporter. That's how it used to be. It might still be that way in some of the bigger markets, but for the vast majority of TV stations, that ain't the case anymore. You have the news reporter. They're not called news reporters anymore. They're called MMJs, multimedia journalists. And they literally do it all. They don't drive the big vans anymore. They got these teeny tiny little cars. And they got this backpack. And they're a one-person show. They set up their own camera, they set up their own microphone, they set up their own live feedback to the station. They do it all. There is no technician in the van. There is no camera operator. They're just doing it all themselves. That's how much it's consolidated. Photog is a thing of the past. Independent photo. There's still a few out there, but for the most part, that job is gone. That job has been erased, eliminated, or consolidated. So yeah, local news is still existing, but it's bleeding. It is bleeding and consolidating. And not just consolidating jobs. It's consolidating, like, TV stations are buying each other up and consolidating into, like, a handful of, like, 3 or 4 broadcasters, and they own all the stations, and that's it. You got Gray, you got Tenga, and you got Sinclair, and that's not how they're ranked. That's just those are the 3 big ones. You have a couple others, but those are the 3 big ones. I've worked for all 3. I will not talk about them. That's another video for another day. Local TV stations, for the most part, produce news. That's 85% of their content. The other 15% of the content they produce is a mixture of PSAs, promos, and commercials for local businesses. Advertisements. Your local TV station usually produces the commercials for the advertiser. They have a specific team of people who do that. The creative people who do that. But that's not all local TV is. I worked for a local TV station in Nebraska, of all places. That wasn't just producing news. We had 2 non-news shows, and I produced them both. We had a talk show, which was a local version of The View. It was a group of women sitting around a table talking about topics and having guests. They sat at a couch and they had guests, and it was a talk show, a local talk show. I produced that. And the other one was a news magazine. It was a agricultural news magazine. So think something like Entertainment Tonight, but all your news stories are agriculture instead of, they're not crime news, they're agriculture. And it's not really news, it's like special interest stuff. So think like live report from the local flea market or farmers market, excuse me, or the what pork bellies are doing, the grain, what grain is doing right now, what's the grain market look like right now, what's corn doing, that kind of stuff. Also, things like that. But also like, the local 4-H club, the local farmers market, the local cow producer, the dairy farmer, whatever, that kind of stuff. So those kind of non-news shows still exist in smaller markets. Now it's rarer, but it does still happen, that you'll get like local game shows or local like variety shows like you used to have back in the day. But that's rarer. Those are pretty much a thing of the past. Let's talk about broadcast TV. Now this is the networks. The networks, so the way it works is when you own a TV station, and presumably it's a network affiliate, when you own a TV station, you have local airtime and then you have network airtime. You have no control over network airtime. That belongs to the network. So if you're an ABC affiliate, that time slot belongs to ABC. You don't have any control over it. You don't sell ads during that slot. It is not your time. That is ABC's time. You give them control. Your master control operator flips a switch in the back that goes from local to network, and you are hands off. It is not your station anymore. It is ABC's station. Now, the vast majority of time slots during the day are actually local time slots. You might think they're network time slots because it's all nationally syndicated programming, but the local producers actually get to pick what programming they put on the air at that time slot. Most of the time, they're going to pick whatever's the top-rated syndicated show. So you're going to see the same shows in Kansas that you're going to see in Florida, because that's what is selling right now. Now, you still have network shows like you have Good Morning America as an example. You have The View as an example. Those are network shows, and those time slots are locked. You can't move them. You can't touch them. But you do have local time slots before and after those shows, and sometimes like Good Morning America and the other networks' equivalents, like the Today Show, etc. You have intercuts. You have local intercuts where you have your local time intercut with the national time. So that works too. Now here's where things get a little bit trickier. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time, you go into what's called primetime TV. Primetime belongs to the networks. That's it. Once primetime hits, it's not your TV station anymore. It belongs to the networks. You're done. You send your people home. They're in bed waiting to come back for tomorrow. Until you get to 10 o'clock. You have the 10 o'clock time, local time, 10 o'clock time slot is your local news. Your PM news. And then it's back to networks. Then it goes to the late night talk shows. I don't know what the late night hosts are today, but we're talking, to me, it would have been Jay Leno or fucking David Letterman. I don't know who's doing it anymore. I don't know. I don't watch network. I haven't had cable or network television for years, so I don't know who's doing it anymore, but that's how it works. Now, this is where it gets really tricky. Your network shows, your network television, this is your core TV. This is what everybody watches. These are the shows that get put on DVD and sold at Walmart and Amazon. These are the shows that populate the streaming services, either next day or in syndication. These are also the shows that populate the cable networks in syndication. So this is like, fucking, I don't know what's new, but I'll just pick a few shows that I know. This is like Two and a Half Men, NCIS, CSI. These are the shows that start on the local network, prime time, and then they get syndicated and sold elsewhere. And then you have cable TV. Cable TV works in a couple of different layers. So you have 3 layers to cable TV. You have what's known as a superstation. A superstation is a local TV station with a national feed, a satellite feed. So it's a local station somewhere, in some local market somewhere. You can turn on the rabbit ears and pick up that station on the antenna for free. But if you live 100 miles away or 500 miles away or 6 states over, you can still get that superstation on your cable feed. The most popular superstation is TBS, Turner Broadcasting System. There is a local TBS station in the Atlanta, Georgia market, and then there's the national TBS station. They may have consolidated over the years, I don't know, but this is how superstations used to work. They might not exist anymore. They may have evolved, but we're going on what I know. Superstations have the same dynamic as an actual local station. So they have the local time that belongs to you, and then they have the network time that belongs to the network. Most of your superstations are not network affiliates. They're independent stations. So they fill all the time slots with whatever they can get. So this is why TBS has sports and news and produced TV shows, like primetime TV shows, sitcoms and game shows and stuff, because they are basically a local ABC station equivalent in the local market with a national feed. But they're not an ABC affiliate. I said adjacent. It's kind of like that. But yeah. So that's your earliest cable networks. Some of those are still around. Some of those have evolved and shifted and morphed over the years. Your second layer to cable TV is your first cable station. What I mean by that is a cable station that started on cable. So this is stuff where they bought satellite space and they exist exclusively in that realm. So you have to have a cable subscription or a satellite subscription or some other subscription to access these channels. This is the vast majority of cable channels. This is the Discovery Channel. This is the Disney Channel. This is Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Sci-Fi Channel, USA, etc., etc. This is what most people think of when they think of cable TV. Cable TV, first air cable, not first air, but first, I don't even know how to describe it. We'll just say, like, not superstations, but cable TV. The way it works is they have all the time. They have a 24-hour time slot. They fill it themselves. They buy programming and they sell ads to pay for the programming that they bought, and they fill those time slots themselves. Some of them, as in most of them, are owned by conglomerates who also own the networks, so they can get content from their catalog. So, for example, we'll use FX as an example. FX, the network, the cable networks, is the cable version of Network Fox. So you have Network Fox, channel 13 or whatever, and then you have FX. FX is the cable version of Fox. So FX can play programming that is owned by Fox Corporation, or whatever the modern equivalent of what Fox Corporation was, but the company that owns Fox, Network Fox. Now remember, Network Fox and 20th Century Fox, which is owned by Disney, are two different companies. So keep that in mind, because it's going to get tricky. But I'm using this as an example. They can Fox owns movies in their catalog, and they have a license to air movies from that catalog. So they can pick time slots and say, you know what, at this time slot, we're going to put this movie from our catalog on this time slot. We're going to sell commercials and we're going to fill it up. They can also produce in the studio or on location original programming for that cable network. Think of something like an example. The Walking Dead is an example of a show that was produced for a cable network, or Mad Men, or Breaking Bad. These are shows that were made by cable networks for the cable network, like primetime network TV network TV shows. These also get picked up by streaming services and sold on home media and etc. And then you have the third layer, paid cable. These are your premium channels: HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, Stars, the works, etc. These are ones that you have the cable subscription, and then you buy these a la carte individually, separate, on top of your cable subscription. Paid cable is the most different. Paid cable is a mixture of syndicated content, licensed content, and also original programming, just like the others. But paid cable, out of all three layers, is the only layer that has no FCC oversight. None. So they can show nudity, they can show R-rated movies, they can show gore, they can show violence, they can have racism, they can have whatever they want. There is no restriction on content. There are no filters, there's no censors. Network TV is the most censored because kids have access to it. Anyone can turn on the TV and watch NCIS. So NCIS cannot show stuff that's not appropriate for kids because they might accidentally tune in and watch it. Cable TV is less regulated, but it's still sort of regulated. Cable networks are self-regulated. The FCC does not have restrictions on them per se, but they follow the FCC guidelines anyways because they want viewers. They want advertisers. You know, they're ad-supported, so they want to be family-friendly. Paid cable doesn't give a shit. They'll fucking show. They call it Skinemax for a reason. You know, they don't give a shit. They'll show whatever. They will fucking show pornography if they want. They'll fucking whatever they want to show. Because you're paying extra for it. Kids can't just turn on the TV and watch HBO. You know, you have to have a cable subscription with HBO added on. Yes, if you have HBO, they can turn it on and tune it to the channel, but that falls on the parents using the parental controls on the TV to make sure that channel has a password on it so the kids can't watch it. So that falls on the parents. So, streaming is a mishmash of cable TV, cable networks, and premium cable networks. It's like a little bit of both. There isn't any FCC oversight or regulations. Maybe there should be, maybe there shouldn't be. That's a debate for another day. But they can show whatever they want because you presumably have to pay extra for it. You have to buy Netflix separate from your internet. You have to pay for Netflix. You have to pay for Max. You have to pay for Disney Plus. Blah blah blah. And log into it. So you have to know the password to log in, or save it in your browser. But whatever. So, and you have parental controls on those two, somewhat. So, streaming services are, by and large, Netflix is the exception, owned by the same conglomerates that own the networks and the cables and the premium channels. So, they're all owned by the same conglomerates. Netflix is an exception. Netflix is like its own independent thing, but we'll talk about Netflix separate. So, for the most part, cable TV and streaming services get their content from the same source: licensed syndicated content. What that means is somebody else produced it, paid for it, aired it, got the money from it, and then they said, we want it too, and they paid for it and put it on their platform. So they didn't create the content, they just licensed it. That's the vast majority of what you'll find on streaming services. Even Netflix. A lot of it is what we call syndicated or licensed content. But that's not enough anymore, because people aren't watching cable TV anymore. They don't have cable anymore, so nobody's watching FX. So FX can't make its money off of advertisers because there's nobody watching FX for the advertisers to pay the money to run their ads on the show in the first place. So they have to take a loss on the show and then sell it to Netflix and hope that they can make their money back and then make money off of DVD sales and iTunes downloads down the road. So this is where things get complicated. TV is expensive. Remember when I told you I worked at a local TV station? I worked at a small market TV station. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'm not going to tell you how big. I'm just going to tell you this. This was a small town in the middle of Nebraska you've never heard of. This TV station produced 5 newscasts a day. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. They had 5 local newscasts. That's pretty standard across the board. I worked at 3 different TV stations in 3 different states. It was the same, all 3 of them. That's standard. Time slots may shift, but by and large, you have 5 local newscasts. Sometimes 4, but most of the time it's 5. That TV station, that newscast, those 5 newscasts cost $150,000 a day to produce. $150,000 a day to produce. You got to pay for the licensing. You got to pay for the building. You got to pay for the staff, which TV staff are not cheap. News anchors make $100,000 a year or more. News reporters make about $30,000 to $40,000 a year, give or take. Television producers make $50,000 to $60,000 a year, give or take. Video editors start around $25,000 to $28,000 a year and go up, and go on from there. It takes a full team of 30 people to produce that 5 o'clock newscast, to put it on the air, to run that TV station. You're talking news reporters, you're talking editors, news directors, video editors, camera operators, master control operators, technical media directors, the news anchors, the anchor, or the weather anchor, the sports anchor. And by the way, that weather equipment is not cheap. Sports is not cheap. So it costs a lot of fucking money to produce. It takes that much money to have one guy sitting at a desk talking to you for 30 minutes. Just one guy sitting at a desk talking to you for 30 minutes. Television is not cheap to produce. Okay? Now, take something like Friends. Here you have sets that you have to build. Here you have a whole cast of superstars you have to pay mega millions of dollars. You have multiple camera operators, not one. You have 3 or 4 camera operators you have to pay. You have a team. You don't have 1 or 2 writers. You have a team of writers. You have to pay the carpenters to build and maintain the sets. You have to pay the set dressers. You have to pay the costume designers. You got to pay the gaffers. and the best boys, best grips, the grips. You got to pay the electricians. You got to pay the lighting people. You got to pay the sound engineers, so on and so forth. It costs a lot of fucking money to make a TV show. A lot of fucking money to make a TV show. More money than you realize. It costs more money to make a TV show than people realize. Okay? TV is not cheap. It is expensive. It is like making a full fucking movie 13 times in a row. Or 26 times in a row, depending on how many episodes you're going to produce. It's expensive. It's fucking expensive. It's not cheap. So how do they make money? So this is the way TV works. The way it works is you have a producer. This is the way network, cable, this is the way, we'll just say scripted TV works. We're not talking news here. News is separate, but I'll give you the breakdown on how news works. But here's how it works. You have a producer. A producer is basically the boss. They're the ones that pull it all together. And the producer pitches the show to the network and says, here's my idea. And the network says yes or no. Okay, let's say the network says yes. So the network says, we're going to give you X amount of dollars, go make your show. So here's how it works. The producer takes the money and makes the show. They take the TV station's money and they make the show. Okay? That money is spent, past tense, it's gone. They cannot get it back. It's already in the bank. It's already in the creditor's pockets. It's gone. Before it ever airs, that money is past tense. Gone. Has already been spent. You can't just take a DVD or a tape or a digital file, flip a switch and put it on TV. It's more complicated than that. You have no idea how more complicated than that it is. You have a team of people at every TV station, at every level, in a field that is called traffic. What is traffic? Traffic are the people who have to make sure every second of airtime is accounted for. There are 24 hours in a day. That's a lot of goddamn seconds. They're not accounting for 24 hours. They're not accounting for the minutes. They're accounting for the literal seconds. When I was a television producer, I had to sit there with my headset and I had to give time cues to my staff as they were producing the show, because when that clock hits 59:50, we go off the air at 11 p.m., right? 59:50, we're done. It's black. You mid-sentence, it doesn't matter. You didn't get to finish your sentence. That time has already been handed back to the network. It's not your time anymore. You have to keep track of every second. This takes a team of people called traffic. So, how do you get a TV show on the air? How do you get it out there? Well, the traffic people and the master control people and the producers and everybody else have to coordinate, and they have to say, we have this time slot with this many seconds. Your TV show fits in this many seconds. Let's break it up. And you have to break it up. TV shows are not sent as a tape. TV shows are sent in pieces. You know, when you go to commercial break, that's piece 1. You come back from commercial break, that's piece 2. They're sent in pieces. So you put piece 1 in the timeline. Here it is. You have space for commercials. You leave that. You don't touch it. You leave it alone. You put in space 2. You put in space 3. You space them out. And then here's how it works. The master control operator with a wall of TVs. I did master control. You do not want to do master control. It is not a job you want. Master control operator has a whole bunch of shit they got to pay attention to. But here's what happens. It's airtime. Okay? Master control operator has to say, okay, we go on the air at 6 o'clock and 5 seconds. Exactly 6 o'clock and 5 seconds. They are watching that clock. When 6 o'clock and 5 seconds comes on, they hit play. Boom. Now the show is on the air. Okay? And that from there, it's sort of automated from there because the commercials are already filmed and they're in the timeline. The chunks of the TV show are already in the timeline. It's already been pieced together and sent out as a package. But things can go wrong. Things can go wrong. But let's not go into that. That's another story. So now you have the show. It's on the air. It's playing. The master control operator can take a break, right? Nope. Because when the commercial break hits, they have to compare their log to what they have to watch the commercial and say, oh, according to this, at this number of seconds in the hour, this commercial is supposed to be playing. Yep, that commercial played, check mark. Or, oops, that commercial didn't play, X. Because if it didn't play, guess who wants their money back? Yeah. So, that's how you get it on TV. That's how you physically get it on TV. It could be on a tape, it could be on a disc, it could be a digital file, whatever. But that's how you physically get it on TV. And this happens at every TV station in real fucking time. You have people pulling their hair out making sure this happens. Okay? But it's still that so to get it on the air, you have to produce it. You got to film it, hire writers, directors, produce it. That costs money. It still costs money to put it on the air because you still have to pay the master control operators and the traffic people to make sure they do their job, to make sure all the ducks in a row so that it gets on air at the exact time it's supposed to get on air. And the commercials play when they're supposed to play. How do you make your money? Well, I've said the word commercials 1,000 times. You sell ads at that. You have intersections where you go to a break, and that's ad time. You sell that space, and advertisers buy it. Advertisers say, I want 30 seconds at 6 p.m. and 25 seconds, or 6 minutes and 25 seconds into the whatever. It's to the second. To the second. So the advertisers are given that, they produce the commercials and then they pay for the time slot, and the TV station who paid for the production that's where they get their money. That money comes in and like, okay, we made some money. Then Netflix says after the show goes off the air, the season wraps, it goes off the air, it's done, the season has ended. Netflix says, we want that show too. We want that show. So then ABC says, okay, give us X number of dollars. You can run that show for this many months, however many months it is. And it's an upfront. It's an upfront cost. And Netflix says, here's the money. And now the TV network has made a little bit more money off of that show. And then I'll just say fucking RCA as an example. Or MCA. We'll use MCA as an example. MCA says, I want to put that movie on DVD and sell it in Walmart and Target and Amazon. So again, the TV station says, okay, give us X amount of dollars and we'll give you copies of the final broadcast tapes. You can put on DVD or Blu-ray or digital or whatever, and you can sell it for whatever you sell it for, and any money you make is yours. Just give us our upfront cost, or it's a per unit cost, whatever they negotiate, and they make a little bit more money. Here's the thing, though. Streaming. Netflix producer goes to Netflix and says, I have a show I wanna make money off of. Or this not my money. I have a show, this is a good idea for a show. Netflix says, yes, here it is, here's the money, go make the show. Netflix puts the show on a computer and does there's a fewer steps than master control, traffic, etc., but it's the same process basically. And people can click on it when it's on their feed and watch it at their leisure. Netflix pays for it, produces it, puts it out there. But up until recently, so this is a little fishy, but up until recently, Netflix didn't sell ads. Now they do now, but you know, they have a plan that sells ads and they have a plan that doesn't. So we're going to go with the standard no ads, because the other streaming services don't have ads either. So, well, most of them don't, but they all have ad-free plans. So here's what happens. Netflix puts the show out there and they've already spent the money, it's gone. But they don't have any advertisers to give them the money back, to make their money back. That they don't have any. Netflix is not going to. ABC or the Sci-Fi Channel isn't going to come to Netflix and say, we like Stranger Things, can we put it on the Sci-Fi Channel? They're going to get this from Netflix. This is what they're going to get. Netflix is just going to flip them off and tell them to go to hell. It ain't going to happen. How does Netflix make money? Well, you pay $15, $25 a month for all their content, and that's how they make their money, right? Let's say 50 million subscribers at 10 million, that $10, let's say it's a $10 plan, 50 million subscribers, we're just doing easy math here. What is that, $500 million a month times 12 months? That's how they make their money. So they got to say, this is how much money we're going to make. Let's make sure we give this much to producing TV shows, so the rest is profit, right? That's presumably how it works. And if a show's popular enough, they can go to whoever, you know, whoever makes the DVDs. There's, you know, Anchor, Bay, or whatever. And they can license it out and they can put it on DVD and they can get their cut too. But for the most part, once it's on streaming, it's done. The money's gone, they don't get it back. They get money from subscribers, but that money isn't allocated to this show or that show or that show. The money's already spent. However, remember when I said television is expensive to produce? Well, you may have noticed there's this thing going on called the strikes, right? The writer strike just ended. The actor strike is ongoing. So here's what they're fighting over. There's this thing called residuals. So here's how it works. Let's say your name is David Schwimmer, and you're hired to produce a show called Friends, and you're going to be one of the 6 friends. Okay. So here's the way the contract works. Friends is going to air on CBS on Wednesday nights for 10 years. 24 episodes a year. You're going to get paid per episode, we'll say $500,000 per episode, whatever. That's expensive, remember? Expensive. And then you're going to get that money up front. That's when I said the money is spent, that you're going to get that up front. That goes in your bank. That's yours. You're going to go buy a house and buy a car and live the life. Okay? And then 3 years into Friends being on air, it's popular, everybody likes it. TBS comes to, you know, Warner Brothers, who has the rights to Friends, and says we want to put reruns of Friends on our network after they've aired. And Warner Brothers says, sure, go for it. Give us this money, and it goes to us. So they pay the syndicated rights. Okay, so here's where things get tricky. There's what's known as residuals, right? Syndicated and other rights. So now every time TBS plays Friends, they have to send money to David Schwimmer. Now, it's not very much, but they still, every time they show Friends, they got to send David Schwimmer some money for that, because that's in his contract. So they have to pay for it up front, the syndicated, the licensing rights, but they also have to pay the royalty rights, the residual rights. So this is where things get tricky. So in order to keep showing Friends, they have to keep paying David Schwimmer and the other cast and the producers and the director, everybody who has residual rights, writers, whoever. And so, even though the show has already been produced, aired, it's already run its course, it's still costing somebody money. It's not free. So Netflix says, we want to put Friends on our TV state, on our service. And so they say, the Warner Brothers or whoever has the rights to Friends says, give us X amount of dollars and you can put Friends on your platform, but we also want residuals. We want X amount of, every time somebody plays it, we want this much, so that we can pay our people who produce, we can pay David Schwimmer. Okay, fair enough. You know. Well, Netflix looks at it and they say, you know what? It's costing us too much money in licensing rights and too much money in syndication rights to keep this show on our platform. We're not making any money off of it. It's costing us more than we're making off of it. Get it off the network. So they cancel it. It goes away. Now, same thing with DVD sales. Every time you buy a DVD, David Schwimmer gets a piece of that DVD sale. He gets his cut. And so on and so forth. Now, Netflix decides they want to produce a show themselves, right? Stranger Things. Well, they've got their own cast and their own writers and producers and directors and everything. Every time you watch Stranger Things, even though Netflix has already paid for it, they've already given them a paycheck, they've all put their money in the bank, spent it, bought a house. Every time you watch Stranger Things on Netflix, it counts as a residual. Now, they got to pay those actors again. And they got to keep paying them. They have to keep paying them. But wait. You've only got 50 million subscribers. You're only getting that, that $10 a month every month. You're not getting any more subscribers. So what are you going to do? Well, you raise prices so you get more money. The other thing you do is you cancel shows that aren't pulling their weight, or, and this happens, you can go back and look at it, you cancel shows that are too popular. How can a show be too popular? Well, people are streaming it too much, it's costing too much in residuals. This is rare, but it does happen. So then they got to say, you know what, it's too expensive, we can't keep it on, we can't keep it anymore. This is what happened with Friends. Netflix said, people are streaming it too much, we paid too much for it, we can't make any money off of it, we got to get it off of our network, so they did not renew their contract. They said, get rid of it, go away, we don't want it anymore. And they let it go. Even though it was a subscriber draw. People were buying Netflix to watch Friends and other shows, and they were watching Friends. Netflix said, we just can't afford it, so they canceled it. Well, you know what I mean, they got it off their system. The question I asked was, is TV dead or dying? The answer is, it's complicated, and it took me 43 minutes to get here. If you're still watching, thank you, congratulations. So the answer is yes. And the reason it is because it is expensive and they're running out of ways to make money. Disney Plus does not currently have commercials. And they charge whatever amount of dollars it is for you to have access to Disney Plus. But they still have to pay their people. Even though they own the show, they produced it, they have the rights, they don't have to pay syndication rights because they own it. They still have to pay the people that made it their residuals. And that's what they're fighting over. The actors, the writers, the producers, that's what they're fighting over. They want more money in residuals, which means it's going to cost TV producers even more money to produce shows and stream them and broadcast them and sell them on DVD, etc. So how does a TV show, a TV network, make money then? Like I said, they sell ads to put it on TV, and then they syndicate it to other networks who want it, and then they sell the rights to the DVD companies. But they still have to from that money, they still got to pay the people that made the show. They got to keep taking a cut of that and giving it out. So what do? I said the word back in minute 1 of this video. Consolidate. That's what they do. They consolidate. They find ways to cut costs so that they can make TV shows for less money than normal and still make the same amount of money that they're making, but now they're getting a little bit more profit. That's not sustainable. There's a maximum number of subscribers you can get as a streaming service. There's a maximum number of subscribers you can get as a cable network. There's a maximum number of TV networks, TV sets in living rooms with antennas that ABC can broadcast to. There's a hard limit. And even though, yes, the population is growing, the population is also fracturing. Back in the 90s, you had 2 choices if you wanted to watch TV. You watched it on Thursday night when it aired on ABC, or you watched it on Sunday morning when it rebroadcast on TBS. Those were your 2 choices. You didn't have DVD, you didn't have Netflix, you didn't have Amazon, you didn't have iTunes, those were your 2 choices. Everybody was watching either live on Thursday night or taped, syndicated on Sunday morning. But everybody's watching either or time slot. Fast forward to today. Your show airs on Thursday nights on ABC. We'll say Grey's Anatomy as an example. Well, let's say in the 90s, let's say 40 million people are watching your show on Thursday night, and maybe 10 million are watching on Sunday morning, the syndicated, right? So that's 50 million people. So, you're going to make your money, right? Now, fast forward to today. Now, 8 million people are watching on Thursday night. 3 or 4 million people are watching next day on Hulu. 1 or 2 million people are buying the goddamn DVD. 4 or 5 million people are waiting for it to come on Netflix. And then everybody else is like, I'm not watching that show. I'll watch something else. I'll watch YouTube. I'll listen to a podcast. So now you're like, well, we can't make as much money as we used to because we have more people watching TV than ever, but only some of them are watching at this time slot, and some of them are watching at this time slot, and some of them are watching over there. How do you make your money? I do not know. I cannot answer this question. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, cannot answer this question. Nobody can. It might not have an answer. Well, remember when I said conglomerates? See, ABC is not a television network making all of its money on the shows it produces and the syndication rights and streaming rights and residuals and DVD sales. ABC is a subsidiary of Disney. Disney is a larger corporation. Disney does not have to make all their money off ABC. They make some money from ABC. They make some money from theatrical movies that they produce and sell to theaters. They make some money from TV shows that they stream on Disney Plus. They also make money from parks, theme parks. They also make money from cruises. They also make money from real estate that they own. They also make money from t-shirts and coffee mugs and trinkets and toys and everything else. So Disney can say, we can invest $10 million to produce this show. knowing that it's only going to make $2 million broadcast, but we'll make the rest of our money off of merchandise and DVD sales and everything else. Eventually, we'll make our money back off this show. This one show that cost us $10 million today might take 10 years to get that $10 million back. That's not sustainable. What does Disney do? They buy Fox. Why? Because Fox has content that they own now. And Fox has assets that they now own. Gives them another revenue stream, more money to come in, more shifting and stuff to play around with. NBC. NBC is owned is a part of a company called NBC Universal. They're owned by Comcast. Comcast is a technology company. Mostly, they are a cable internet and cable TV provider, which means you live in a city and you pay them $60 a month and they turn on your TV and you can have access to all those channels. And you give them $60 a month and they give you home internet and you can watch Netflix all day long, assuming you pay Netflix their fee. And that's how they make their money. And then they also own all these NBC and Peacock and Sci-Fi Channel and everything else. This is called consolidation. These conglomerates have consolidated. Right? Every once in a while, a conglomerate will fail. RCA failed. MGM failed. AOL failed. These big conglomerates can fail. So somebody else has to come along and buy the pieces after they fail. They scoop them up and buy what's left and try to salvage it. Another thing that conglomerates do is they consolidate even further. Again, they consolidate two ways. One, by cutting costs, by merging jobs and, streamlining things as best they can to cut costs so they can keep costs down. They also want to streamline, maximize profits by increasing revenue streams. So how do they do that? They buy their competition. They buy other companies. They buy other services. So that they have money coming in from elsewhere. So, this is how that works. Network television is kinda sorta protected by the federal government. I'm not going to get into it. This video is getting too goddamn long. But network TV is sort of protected by the federal government. So network TV will likely never go away because network TV is the source of everything else. Netflix gets their shows from network TV. TBS gets their shows from network TV. Amazon gets TV shows from network TV to put on their service and to sell DVDs. That's where it comes from. It comes from primetime TV, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CW. That's where TV shows come from. That's where they originate. And then they get spread out everywhere else. Cable TV is dying. Cable TV, for all intents and purposes, cable TV is already dead. It's not even on life support anymore. It's literally dead. They're just chopping up the body and giving away the pieces. Cable is dead and done, and it's not coming back. Cable networks had no choice but to get into streaming so that they could have a revenue stream to make up for the losses of losing cable subscribers. There's no eyeballs on FX anymore, so what do? They put their shows on Disney Plus so that they can get some of the fucking money back. This is all fucking complicated. I simplified it way too goddamn much. This is way more complicated than I make it out to be. Now, put this in your head for just one quick second. Local news stations, local TV, your local Channel 13 Fox affiliate or whatever is not making money. They're not. You can look at the books. You can go to their website. You can go to their. You can go to Sinclair's stock report, and you can look at their books, and you can see they are not making a profit. They are not. Your local TV station is losing money. It has been losing money for a very long time. All of them are. None of them are profitable. Local TV stopped being profitable a long time ago. Why do they keep producing it? Because at this point they have to. They've got to fill those time slots somehow. They have to. They have to fill those time slots. And even though it costs them more money to produce a 6 o'clock newscast than it does to buy reruns of, I don't know, fucking The Flash and put it at that time slot, they would rather have the local news because it's local content than not have it. Because remember I said the federal government, the FCC? The FCC gives them a license, permission to use the airwaves. By law, they have to, by law, produce a certain number of hours every week local produced content. That's the law. So even though your local ABC affiliate, your Sinclair owned ABC affiliate, Channel 7 or whatever, is losing money, it has to, by law, keep making the 6 o'clock news. It cannot cancel the 6 o'clock news, because if they did, they lose their license and then they go out of business. How does Sinclair make money in this scenario? They don't. They fucking don't. They're not. They're not making money. What they're doing is they're borrowing money from this conglomerate, and they're doing their best to syndicate and consolidate and do whatever they can to make a penny everywhere they can. So basically what they're doing is kicking the can down the road. And that's not fucking sustainable. Eventually, Sinclair's going to run out of money, and they're going to file bankruptcy, and all those local TV stations are going to disappear. That's going to happen unless somebody steps in. Who that is, we don't know. Now, there's another law that says ABC cannot own directly the local ABC stations. Not all of them. They can own a certain number, but they can't own all of them. And there's a map with like pins on it. There's network pins and there's local pins. They can only own the pins that are designated network. They cannot buy a pin that is not designated network. They can't. It is against the law. They cannot do it. ABC cannot have a station in let's say Salina, Kansas. If ABC has a Sinclair station in Salina, Kansas, Gray Television is their competitor. Gray cannot come into Salina, Kansas and say, well, we want to run an ABC station too. They can't do it. The FCC says, no, there's already an ABC station there. Pick a different affiliate. So again, there's pins. There's a number of pins. There are 210 pins across the these are DMAs. There are 210 DMAs across the country. If Gray owns an ABC station in DMA 200, Sinclair cannot own an ABC station in DMA 200. They got to find a different DMA to put a station in. This gets messy because you can't consolidate anymore. You can't go into Market 200 and say, well, we want to buy the failing CW station, because the failing CW station is owned by we'll say Gray, and Gray's like, yeah, we're not selling, we're not for sale. So Sinclair can't grow into that market. They can't expand. They cannot grow their business. Gray has the same problem. Tenga has the same problem. What do? Traditionally, they look for independent broadcasters, mom and pop shops who still own their own local markets, and they offer to buy those, and then that's how they enter the market. Except they've already done that. There are no more local markets left to buy. They've all consolidated. They've already done consolidated. There's no more markets to buy. So what do? They don't fucking know. What they're trying to do is buy into other businesses. But again, remember that FCC I told you about? Sinclair is a news station. They produce news. They are a news station. So we'll go back to Salina, Kansas as an example. They have a license to broadcast news in Salina, Kansas. Now, Salina's not a big city, but it's a sizable town, you know. There's enough people in Salina, Kansas to justify having some local radio stations, and there's enough people in Salina, Kansas to justify having a local newspaper. So why doesn't Sinclair go in and buy the local newspaper? Because they can't. It's against the law. It is against the law to own two news outlets in the same market. Now, Sinclair can own a TV station in Salina and a newspaper in fucking, I don't know, Helena, Montana, if they don't already own a TV station in Helena, Montana. If they wanted to, they could. But there are other businesses that are gobbling up the newspapers, so they have competition in that realm as well. Same thing, they can't. If you own a TV station in one market, you cannot own an FM radio or an AM radio station in that same market. You got those pins all over the place, so you gotta pick and choose which markets you enter, which markets you buy, blah blah blah. What do? They don't. No. Some of them have tried to go online, digital. Sinclair does have a streaming app. You can download the app on your phone and watch their shows that way. So that's another way for them to get eyeballs on their shows and sell more ads. But that's pennies. You know, it's just pennies. It's not very big. Do you have the Sinclair app on your phone? You probably didn't even know Sinclair had an app. You probably don't even know what it's called, and I'm not going to tell you. You got to figure it out yourself. I had to. And I'm in the TV business. And I didn't know Sinclair had an app. Once I found out we had an app, told my news anchor, I worked for a Gray station, told my news anchor, did you know Sinclair had an app? And he didn't know. And it's his job to know. He's the news anchor. It's his job to know what his competition is doing. And he didn't know. So it's not like Sinclair is advertising. They have an app. Okay? So let's toss that aside. Well, what they've done is they've launched free services. Fox launched Tubi. I believe CBS launched Pluto. And there's a few others. Or either launched or bought. But there's a few others. So that way they can get more eyeballs, sell more ads, make money that way. Because they don't have to pay extra for the content. They already own it. They just got to pay a little bit in residuals and then make money off of ads. That's what they're trying to do. The problem is there are not any more hours in a day than there used to be. We still have the same number of hours in a day, but we got more choices. So, do you spend your 4 hours you have in the evening watching TV watching Tubi? Or do you spend it watching Netflix? Or do you spend it watching local ABC content? Well, you have choices. And more people are picking more and more, are finding more and more choices. So they're spreading them out. They're dividing them up. We didn't even talk about YouTube. That's a whole nother video. This is an hour-long video, and I don't regret it. And I know not anyone's going to sit through this whole video, but I hope you do, because you're going to learn a lot. Local TV is dying. Cable TV is dying. Streaming networks are dying. And they know this. This is not news. This has already been reported on. They're scrambling, trying to figure out how to fix it. And as of right now, nobody knows the answer. Not even me.